All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode. We're going to be talking about omnipresence. How do you reach omnipresence in your marketplace using Facebook and Instagram ads? So let's hop right into this. The topic for today is omnipresence. How to generate omnipresence in your marketplace. Now, before we dive into this, I have two quick announcements to make to you guys, okay? Number one is that if you want to take your Facebook ads to the next level, if you really want to grow your authority and your omnipresence in the marketplace, I strongly recommend that you go ahead and get a copy of my Ultimate Facebook Ads Guidebook by going to adsguide2020.com. Get it, it's really inexpensive, it's packed with value, and I think you guys are gonna love it, okay? So that's number one. Number two, I'm really excited because yesterday, the first episode of my new podcast, the Marketing Atlas podcast, dropped by. So if you want to listen to it, I talk about, the first episode is about how to fix any advertising campaign that is not working with 4 easy steps. If you wanna learn how to do it, go to marketingatlaspodcast.com, marketingatlaspodcast.com. There's a little button out there to subscribe as well if you want to check it out. With that being said, let's talk about how to create omnipresence. I had the honor of working for Grant Cardone last year and during most of last year through his advertising agency. And I was in charge of the marketing for the agency, but not only that, I was also in charge of training the whole media buying team. There was like 15 media buyers there. It was like north of 215 clients or something crazy like that. And it was really, really cool. And one of the things that I learned is how these guys or how these personalities are creating omnipresence in the marketplace. Okay, so I want to share it with you so that you can start applying that and actually get more awareness for your brand, generate more leads and sales. Okay, so this is a 3-step process that I'm going to be sharing with you. Some of you guys already know about this, but it's a good refresher. Okay, now why would you want to create omnipresence? Okay, I was like sitting down at the Cardone the Cardone headquarters in Aventura last year. This was in September last year. I was sitting down and I overhear the marketing guys discussing about this TV spot that they were running, right? And I come from a hardcore direct response background. I want every dollar to be accountable, right? So every dollar that we put out there, every ad that we put out there, it needs to produce a result. Otherwise, it gets shut down. So that is basically what we're trying to do. But what happened is that they were discussing with Grant the fact that the marketing guys wanted to pull the TV spot, and Grant was all about exposure. So it was definitely a different school of thought. But what I learned is that what he was trying to achieve in the marketplace is omnipresence, right? He might not have had the best ROI ever. He might not have had like 1,000% ROI on that specific TV spot, but what he had was a really high level of understanding of how the human psychology worked. And this happens with politicians as well. If you think about it, politicians are always out there. They're always trying to be on camera. One of my friends, he was working with a politician here in Argentina, and there was a big quarrel, there was a big fight, in one of these events, these big national events, about where each politician would go. And the reason why is because he would tell me the reason why, the different teams will fight over spots and places, it's because where the camera will be positioned. So if the camera would be positioned in an angle where the politician will look good, then they would want that spot. All right. And there's nothing wrong with that, but politicians really understand what omnipresence means, right? And what happens is that with omnipresence, with repetition, the more you see somebody show up on your screen, on your TV screen, on your phone, on your laptop, whatever that is, they become familiar to you, okay? And when they become familiar to you, it's like seeing somebody for the first time at work, right? When somebody comes in for the first time at work, everything is kind of weird, but then as you start becoming familiar with that person, then you maybe start becoming buddies, and maybe you will start hanging out and all of that. So it becomes familiar to you. The more you appear, the more your face and your personal brand appears to your audience, the more you become familiar. And this fact also becomes that it breeds trust in your audience, because again, when somebody comes in for work for the first time, then you might not trust them, right? But as time goes by and you see them every day, maybe you don't know them, but you see them every day, and what happens is that they start becoming really, really trustworthy to you, right? So that is what happens. And then you start liking the person, right? Because you see him every day. So you start liking the person. Unless they do something to betray your trust, you start liking that person. And then what happens is you become really aware of what's going on. So something that you need to understand always is that omnipresence, the fact that you're showing up every day, every single day, and in some cases multiple times per day, what happens is that you start bringing these effects in your audience, so that your audience will start doing more business with you. They want to consume more content from you, and they want to, buy what you have to offer. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys the 3-step process to actually create omnipresence that I learned after working with Cardone. Now, with that being said, again, if you want to learn all of this, if you want to take it to the next level, go to adsguide2020.com and download my new Ads Guidebook. I think you're gonna love it. Now, the first step in order for you to be, and to create this omnipresence is to create helpful content. So that is number one, create helpful content. Now let's go back to the politician example. What happens when we have a politician always out there, showing his face and showing his face and showing his face? It might not seem that they're creating helpful content, but they are. For people that are following them, let's say Donald Trump, you might not like him or like him a lot. It doesn't matter. What means is that when somebody, like that comes on stage and he's handed a microphone or whatever, he will talk and he will say something that is really helpful for some people, for his audience. He will really understand how the audience works. So the first step that you always want to do, and this is something that you want to do daily, there's 2 things that you want to do daily. Number 1 is to create content. Number 2 is to create offers. If you're creating those 2 things, your business will grow. So the first thing is to always create content. And this is something that you need to do on a daily basis. Maybe a couple years ago, you could afford to go out there, maybe go live like a couple times a week, or maybe, create content a couple times a month if you wanted to. But right now, with the amount of content that is being put out, you need to step up and create a lot of content. So the first thing is to create helpful content. The best type of content that I like is helpful videos like this one, right? I really like to create helpful videos because I think that they convey better the message, but it could be any type of content. It could be a podcast, it could be, images, it could be long form blog posts, it could be pretty much anything. The main point is that you go out there and create helpful content. For instance, Twitter celebrities, what they do is they tweet, right? So their helpful content, their content is basically 140 characters type of content. That is basically it. So number 1, create helpful content and make sure that you create it every single day, whatever your space may be. Okay, if it's Instagram, maybe you can create 1-minute videos. If it's Facebook, you may want to create this long form type of content. So that is step number 1. Step number 2, once people have engaged with your content, social networks have a really specific way of functioning. And what's funny is that I think it was Facebook who invented this, but then everyone else copied it, is that the more you start engaging with somebody on Facebook, on Instagram, the more you start seeing their content. And then the same happened with Twitter. The more you start engaging with a tweet, the more tweets you end up seeing from that person. The more you start seeing videos of that same channel, right? So what happens is that when you start creating helpful content, people will engage with your content, which takes you to the next step, which is show more content. I'm an advertising guy. That means that I like to accelerate things by pushing some dollars behind whatever it is that I'm doing. So that's what I learned from these guys at Cardone, at Grant Cardone. So, they would push money behind every piece of content pretty much. The reason why is because they want to create this massive awareness and this massive brand. So what happens is that when somebody engages with your content on Facebook and Instagram, let's say that they watch 25% of their videos, naturally, and by natural I mean organically, they will start engaging more with your content. Okay, they will start seeing more content. For instance, if you are a coach or a consultant, a quick tip, a quick hack that you can apply when somebody is adding you to their Facebook profile is to start a conversation with them. Send them a message saying, hey, thank you for adding me. What do you do? And the reason why is because now if they reply back, they engage with you through Messenger, that's also a signal to the algorithm saying, hey, let's bump this guy up. So now you'll start showing on their timeline as well with the rest of your content. That's why engagement is so important. So you create helpful content. Number one, people will engage with that content and they will start going and getting more content feed from your timeline. And the third thing that you want to do, the third step, is to show them offers. And this is where you monetize. So for instance, I like to put an offer every day. So right now, my offer is go to Ads Guide 2020 to get my brand new guidebook. But in your case, it could be anything. It could be apply to talk to us. It could be complete this form and we will reach out to you. It could be join my webinar. Whatever it is, this is going to be your sales process. So I personally like to put an offer in every piece of content that I put out there. And the reason why is because people might go ahead and take action in the first interaction, which is rare, but might happen, or on the second interaction, which is highly likely that people will go ahead and use this second step to actually take action because they already engaged with my content the first time. But there's always something going on in terms of the offer. You always want to have an offer out there. And the way you do this is, on my case, which again, I'm an advertising guy, what I do is when people consume my content, they will engage with my Facebook page, they will watch my videos, and I will present them with an offer so that they can go ahead and buy the stuff that I want them to buy, or maybe they can show up for my webinar, etc., etc., etc. So what I do is retargeting ads. And you know, when you start retargeting and you start doing this, what happens is that you achieve this omnipresence type of reality. People will reach out to you and tell you, dude, I'm seeing you everywhere. I found you through Facebook, now I see you everywhere. I found you through Google or YouTube, and now I see you everywhere. And the reason why is because, again, you're using this 3-step process so you can actually create that omnipresence feeling. Now, people will start following you on Facebook, right? And now what happens is that people will start following you on YouTube if you go ahead and get that YouTube call to action, if you will. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to gain more business in a way that's cool, in a way that's not confrontational, if that's something that you want to do, and it really creates a lot of goodwill in your marketplace, okay? So I hope that you go ahead and implement this. Again, number one, create daily content. Number two, the reason why you want to create daily content is because number one, the content will get put out, people will engage with that content, but also number two, people will start consuming more of that content that you're putting out through the magic of organic. If you want to accelerate this, you want to advertise. And number three, you want to show them offers. I like to retarget with image ads, mostly on Facebook and Instagram. I hope that this helps. Do you have any questions? Let me know in the comments. I hope that this helps out. And again, if you want to take your Facebook ads to the next level, go to adsguide2020.com, get my brand new guidebook. I'm pretty sure you're gonna love it if you want to advertise like a pro. Number one. Number two, stay tuned for the podcast. marketingatlaspodcast.com. Go there, you can subscribe. I'll keep you updated. All right, guys, thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit. I hope that this helps. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. I read all of your questions, all of your comments, I read them. And then if you feel like this is helpful, go ahead and smash that like button and share this with somebody that needs to watch it. Maybe there's a friend out there that needs to watch this. Maybe there's a boss or a coworker that needs to watch this. I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.